You know, when we talk about countries that really walk the walk on big issues,
Hmm.
Australia and New Zealand's approach to their wine industry is genuinely pretty impressive.
It really is.
It's not just some, like, marketing angle. It feels like a deep-rooted commitment, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. To making wine production sustainable right from the ground up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what we're diving into today.
Mm.
Think of this as your, well, your cheat sheet, maybe,
Hmm.
to understanding why they're leading the way on this crucial front,
Precisely. We're taking a close look at sustainable wine growing in Australia and New Zealand.
right?
And we're drawing on insights from a couple of key sources, one called Vinho Sustentável Down Under, looking at their green leadership,
Okay.
and another detailed analysis, Viticulture Sustentável na Australia in Nova Zelandia, from a sommelier's perspective.
Got it.
And our goal really is to pull out the most important insights about how these countries are setting global benchmarks for, environmentally and socially responsible wine.
And why that actually matters for all of us?
Exactly why it has a real impact.
Okay, so sustainable wine growing, it sounds good,
Hmm.
but what does it actually mean? In practice, beyond just being eco-conscious.
Well, fundamentally, it's about a triple bottom line: environment, economics, and society.
Right.
Sustainable wine growing aims to find a balance, basically.
Right.
Practices that are environmentally sound, economically viable for the long term,
Uh-huh.
and socially responsible for the people involved. It's about ensuring the health of the land, the longevity of the industry, and the well-being of communities.
So it's not just about being green, it's making sure the whole system, the whole thing can thrive.
That's it.
Our sources outline 5 key areas within this. Let's start with soil and water conservation. What sort of innovative approaches are they taking there?
Yeah, it's really interesting how they tackle these fundamentals. For soil, you see widespread use of cover crops.
Right.
And that's not just stopping erosion. In some Aussie vineyards, studies actually show it can boost soil organic matter by like 30% over just a few years.
Wow, 30%. That's significant.
It is. Really boosts soil health and water retention. And then there's reduced tillage. That's also a big part of it.
Okay. And water,
Yeah.
especially in Australia, that must be critical.
Oh, absolutely. Drip irrigation is standard, but it's fine-tuned now with really sophisticated soil moisture sensors,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes even linked to weather forecasts, so water's used with amazing precision. And rainwater harvesting is expanding too, turning runoff into a resource.
That leaf and soil organic matter from cover crops is, yeah, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, the next pillar is reducing chemical inputs. How are they moving away from, say, traditional pesticides and fertilizers?
Well, the core strategy is integrated pest management, or IPM.
IPM, right.
So instead of just automatically reaching for the sprayer, they look at the whole ecosystem.
Okay.
Like, for example, introducing specific beneficial insects, certain wasps, maybe to control vineyard pests. That can drastically cut insecticide use.
I see. Using nature against nature, sort of?
Exactly. And canopy management, like pulling leaves for better airflow, that's crucial too for preventing fungal diseases. Again, less need for chemical sprays.
Makes sense.
And of course, organic methods, completely avoiding synthetic inputs, those are gaining a lot of ground as well.
So it's a more nuanced, you could say, ecological approach.
Yeah.
Pillar 3 is biodiversity and ecosystems.
Yes.
This sounds like it goes beyond just the vines themselves.
It really does. Think of a healthy vineyard as part of a bigger natural picture.
Mm-hmm.
Practices here include things like creating wildlife corridors, planting native stuff to connect habitats, letting animals move freely,
Oh, interesting.
controlling invasive species, plants, and animals. That's vital, too, for protecting native life. Some wineries are even actively restoring degraded land around their vineyards.
Really? Turning it back into, like, thriving ecosystems.
Yeah, exactly. And all that increased biodiversity, it can actually make the vineyard itself more resilient, helping keep pests in check naturally.
It's fascinating how it's all connected, isn't it? Okay, 4th pillar. Energy efficiency and emission reduction. How are they tackling their carbon footprint?
Well, the sunny climates in many Aussie and NZ wine regions make solar power a pretty obvious choice and increasingly viable.
Yeah, you'd think so.
You see more and more wineries with big solar panel setups, sometimes enough to make them energy independent.
Wow.
Beyond that, it's about efficiency everywhere, better equipment in the winery, smarter refrigeration, even looking at lighter glass bottles to cut transport emissions.
Solar power does seem like a no-brainer there. And finally, the 5th pillar. Social responsibility and ethics. This is the human side, right?
Absolutely.
Uh,
This covers fair labor practices, making sure working conditions are safe and healthy for everyone, vineyard and winery.
Crucial.
And it also means supporting local communities, providing jobs, sourcing locally, just contributing to the overall well-being of the area. It's recognizing the winery as part of a bigger social fabric.
So it's a really holistic view then. What it takes to be a truly responsible wine producer. Now, our sources clarify the links between sustainable, organic, and biodynamic. It can get a bit confusing for people.
It can, yeah.
How do they all fit together?
Think of it like maybe a set of nesting dolls or increasingly specific approaches.
Okay.
Organic viticulture is mainly about what you don't do. No synthetic pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers in the vineyard. Simple enough.
Right. No synthetics?
Biodynamic takes organic principles and adds this holistic, almost philosophical layer, viewing the vineyard as a living thing, using special preps, following lunar cycles.
Okay, that's the more out there one for some people.
Maybe, yeah. And then sustainable viticulture is the broadest category. It includes lots of the green practices from organic and biodynamic,
Wow.
but it also specifically brings in that economic viability and the social responsibility piece. So a winery can be sustainable without being certified organic or biodynamic, but equally, many organic and biodynamic producers are deeply into broader sustainability goals too.
That's actually a really helpful way to picture it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Now let's zoom in on Australia. The sources talk about their pioneering spirit.
Yeah.
What kicked off their move towards sustainable wine growing?
Well, while their wine history isn't as ancient as Europe's, Australia has always had this knack for innovation.
True.
The sustainable movement really got going in the 1990s, initially driven by worries about water scarcity, which is a very real issue there,
Definitely.
and just a growing general awareness of environmental impacts. Plus, consumers starting to ask for more responsibly made stuff.
Right, market pull too.
Yeah, and a key moment was setting up Wine Australia's Entwine Australia program.
Entwine Australia, that sounds important. What exactly does it do?
It's basically a national sustainability program. It gives Aussie grape growers and winemakers a framework, resources, and crucially, certification
Okay.
to help them improve sustainability across the board, environmental, economic, social. It really encourages continuous improvement and helps the whole industry move together. It's pretty comprehensive.
So, a nationwide push. Our sources give specific examples, starting with water management. Given Australia's climate, this must be a constant focus.
Oh, absolutely. The dry conditions have forced some incredible innovation. Beyond just drip irrigation, many use advanced sensors now.
Really? How so?
Monitoring soil moisture at different depths, feeding that data back to control irrigation super precisely. Some are even using treated winery wastewater for irrigation sometimes.
Wow, closing the loop. That's clever.
Yeah, a big step in water recycling.
And when it comes to pests and diseases, we talked about IPM. How does that actually play out in Aussie vineyards?
It's very tailored to the place. They focus on really understanding the life cycles of the main pests and diseases in their specific region.
Right, not one size fits all.
Exactly. So they can use biological controls like those predatory mites for vine pests or cultural practices like specific pruning for airflow at just the right time. Chemicals are really a last resort and usually very targeted if used.
Makes sense. Moving to soil management, sounds like they're really focused on building healthy soils.
Definitely. Using diverse cover crop mixes is common, not just stopping erosion, but improving soil structure, boosting organic matter, even fixing nitrogen to cut fertilizer needs. And composting is huge, often using grape mark, the leftover skins and seeds after pressing,
Right, putting it back in.
returning those valuable nutrients to the soil.
And renewable energy becoming more common.
Yes, absolutely. With all that sunshine, solar power is just a natural fit. Lots of wineries installing pretty major solar arrays.
Reducing grid reliance.
Drastically, yeah. And lowering their carbon emissions significantly.
Now, the sources highlight some regional initiatives, too.
Yeah.
Let's start with South Australia, Barossa Valley, McLaren Vale. What's their sustainability story?
Well, South Australia has this strong history of family wineries, often with a really long-term view of looking after the land.
Right, multi-generational.
Exactly. In the Barossa, there's a growing move towards regenerative agriculture practices that actively improve soil health, biodiversity, and they really value their old vines, working to protect that heritage.
Makes sense. And McLaren Vale.
McLaren Vale has become a real hotspot for organic and biodynamic wine, a really high concentration of certified producers there.
Interesting. What about Victoria? Yarra Valley, Mornington Peninsula cooler, more humid places?
Yeah, that higher humidity brings different challenges, especially fungal diseases.
Right.
So the focus there is often on really meticulous vineyard management, getting the canopy architecture just right for airflow as a primary defense.
Prevention first.
Exactly. And there's growing interest in organics there too. Plus, those beautiful landscapes are driving a focus on sustainable tourism alongside the wine.
Okay. And finally, for Australia, Margaret River over in WA, coastal influence there.
Margaret River has a really strong environmental ethos, maybe partly because of that stunning coast.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You see high participation in sustainability certifications there, a real collective commitment. Protecting native bushland, creating those biodiversity corridors, that's a key priority too. Recognizing the importance of the natural ecosystems around the vineyards.
It's great how they tailor it to each region. Now, the sources mention some leading Aussie producers. Who stands out?
Oh, several. Yalumba, for instance, an old historic estate, they've had this long-term commitment across the board, organics, lighter packaging, you name it.
Okay.
Taylor's Wines has put a lot into research, especially on water use and cutting their carbon footprint. Henschke is famous for their focus on soil health and biodiversity in those iconic vineyards.
Right, the Hill of Grace Vineyard.
Exactly. Even big players like Penfolds are bringing sustainable practices into some lines. And over in Margaret River, Voyager Estate has a really holistic approach, integrating organic and biodynamic ideas. And Colin Wines, they're a true pioneer in biodynamics in Australia.
That gives us a really good picture of Australia's efforts. Now let's hop over to New Zealand. The focus there seems to be on, what, purity and preservation.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty well. New Zealand's wine industry, though younger, has always been tied closely to that clean green national image. There's this strong national pride in their environment, and you really see that reflected in their winemaking approach. Sustainable Winegrowing New Zealand, or SWNZ, has been absolutely key.
SWNZ. How does that compare to Australia's Entwine program? Has it had a big impact?
Oh, huge impact. While they're both national programs, SWNZ has incredibly high adoption rates.
Really?
Yeah, a massive percentage of New Zealand's vineyard area is certified under the program. It gives a comprehensive framework certification for vineyards and wineries.
Okay.
And its widespread uptake just highlights how unified the industry is on environmental stewardship.
Wow, those high adoption rates really speak volumes.
Yeah.
What are some of the key sustainable practices we see in NZ?
Well, protecting and boosting biodiversity is a major one. Lots of effort goes into creating native planting corridors, controlling invasive species, planting native trees and shrubs around vineyards.
Right, integrating with the local flora.
Exactly. Water management is also super rigorous. Careful monitoring of use and quality, efficient irrigation, and a big focus on protecting rivers and streams.
Water quality focus, too.
Definitely. And waste minimization is taken very seriously. Comprehensive recycling, composting winery waste, the works. And like Australia, organic and biodynamic methods are definitely growing in popularity.
Sounds very integrated, very aligned with that national identity. What about regional initiatives? Marlboro's the giant, of course.
Yeah, Marlborough being the biggest region is certainly a leader in sustainability there. Very high SWNZ participation, and many producers are actually going beyond the basic requirements, always looking for ways to improve.
Pushing the boundaries.
They are. Central Otago, known for those amazing landscapes, has a strong focus on preserving that environment while making their top-notch wines. And Hawke's Bay is seeing more and more producers embracing organic and biodynamic practices too.
And which Kiwi producers are really flying the flag for sustainability?
Oh, many of the big names and highly regarded wineries are deeply committed. Villa Maria, Cloudy Bay, Kim Crawford, Felton Road, Saracen Estate, Dog Point Vineyard.
A lot of familiar names there.
Yeah, they all implement a wide range of initiatives: renewable energy, extensive recycling, water conservation, significant habitat restoration projects, you name it. Felton Road, for example, is a big proponent of biodynamics.
It's genuinely inspiring, isn't it, seeing this level of commitment across so many producers in both countries. Now, let's think about the grapes themselves. How does the choice of grape variety impact sustainability? It's not just farming methods, is it?
No, absolutely not. Choosing varieties that are naturally well suited to the local climate and soil, that inherently reduces the need for lots of intervention.
Makes sense. Less struggle for the vine.
Exactly. Disease-resistant varieties, sometimes called PIWI varieties, they have huge potential to cut down on fungicide use.
PIWIs, right. are they common there?
Their adoption is still, let's say, evolving in Australia and New Zealand. They mostly grow well-known European varieties. But the careful selection of clones and specific varieties that really thrive in their particular patch of land, that is a key part of long-term sustainability. What the grower decides to plant is actually a crucial sustainability decision right at the start.
So matching the grape to the place is fundamental.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move from the vineyard into the winery, the cellar. What sustainable practices are happening there?
Yeah, sustainability definitely doesn't stop at the vineyard gate. Energy efficiency is huge in the winery.
How so?
Investing in high-efficiency gear, using renewables like solar, putting in monitoring systems to track and optimize energy use.
Okay.
Reducing water use is another big one. Recirculation systems, dry cleaning methods where possible.
Right, less water down the drain.
Exactly. Minimizing harsh chemicals and sulfites, looking for natural alternatives, that's a focus too. And responsible waste management.
Like composting the pomace.
Yes, composting the pomace is standard, but also meticulous sorting of other waste and even exploring ways to get value from other winery byproducts.
Interesting. What about packaging?
That's a big one too. The move towards lighter glass bottles is significant. Using recycled materials and exploring alternative formats like bag-in-box or cans all helps cut the environmental footprint of the final product.
And can these sustainable winemaking practices actually influence the wine in the bottle, the taste or style?
They definitely can. Often, a commitment to sustainability in the cellar aligns with a more hands-off or minimal intervention approach.
Letting the grapes speak.
Pretty much, allowing the natural quality of the fruit and the character of the vineyard, the terroir, to really come through. While efficient energy use might not directly change flavor, the whole philosophy often prioritizes top-quality fruit from well-managed vineyards.
Which should lead to better wine.
Ultimately, yes.
Okay, now what about us, the consumers? Is there actually a real demand for these sustainable wines? Are people looking for them?
Oh, absolutely. There's definitely a growing global group of consumers who are actively looking for sustainably produced wines.
Really? Willing to pay more sometimes?
Sometimes, yes. They're more aware of environmental and social issues, and they want their spending to reflect their values.
Makes sense. So how do they find these wines?
Well, certifications and seals are crucial. Things like Entwine Australia, SWNZ, and the organic and biodynamic logos. They help you identify the wines and trust what the producer is claiming.
Right, a signal of commitment.
Exactly. And e-commerce is important too. Wineries can tell their sustainability story directly. And wine tourism, eno-tourism, that offers a really immersive way for people to connect.
Visiting the place, seeing it firsthand.
Yeah, seeing the practices, meeting the people, that builds a much stronger connection.
So it seems sustainability isn't just the right thing to do, it's increasingly a smart move in the market too.
Definitely becoming a market advantage, yes.
Looking ahead then, what sort of innovations are shaping the future of sustainable wine? Where is this heading?
It's a really dynamic area. We're seeing more adoption of new tech, like remote sensing, drones.
Drones in the vineyard.
Yeah, to monitor vine health, water stress, resource use with incredible precision. AI is starting to be used too, analyzing all that data to help make better management decisions.
Wow.
Research into those disease-resistant grape varieties and also climate-adapted rootstocks, that's crucial for long-term resilience.
Especially with climate change.
Exactly. And there's ongoing work just digging deeper into soil health, understanding that complex ecosystem better. Adapting to climate change will keep driving innovation, different varieties, canopy techniques, maybe even moving vineyards to cooler spots.
So Australia and New Zealand will likely stay at the front of this.
I think so, yes. They're expected to remain leaders, and collaboration is key too, sharing knowledge across the industry to drive progress together.
Before we wrap up, could you give us just a couple more quick concrete examples, specific wineries and their standout practices, maybe one from each country?
Sure. In Australia, maybe Gemtree Wines in McLaren Vale. They're real leaders in regenerative agriculture, really focusing on building up that soil health and biodiversity.
Okay, Gemtree.
And in Margaret River, Cullen Wines, we mentioned them, they're not just biodynamic pioneers, they actually generate more energy than they use. Carbon positive.
Impressive. And New Zealand?
Let's see, Yealand's Estate in Marlborough, they're certified carbon neutral, known for some really innovative waste management systems.
Yealand's, right.
And maybe Ripon in Central Otago, deeply committed to biodynamics, but also just incredibly focused on preserving their unique, stunning landscape.
Mm-hmm.
These are just snapshots, of course.
No, that's great. It really illustrates the point. So It's crystal clear, isn't it? Australia and New Zealand are genuine trailblazers in sustainable wine growing,
No question.
driven by this real environmental awareness, that innovative spirit we talked about, and these strong national programs like Entwine and SWNZ. They're setting a really high bar for the rest of the world.
They really are.
And these efforts, they're not just good for the planet and the future of the wine industry itself, but as you said, they often contribute to the quality and character of the wines we get to enjoy.
Absolutely. And for you listening, as you choose your next bottle, maybe consider looking for wines from these regions, or specifically look for those sustainability certifications we mentioned.
Because by doing that, you're directly supporting a more responsible, more forward-thinking part of the wine world.
Exactly. You're voting with your wallet, in a way.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Imagine if more wine regions globally really embrace sustainability this comprehensively. What kind of positive impact could that have on the planet, and maybe even on the future quality and diversity of wine available to all of us?
It's a powerful thought.
Definitely something to mull over. Maybe next time you're picking out a wine, take that extra second. See what you can find out about how it was made. It's definitely worth exploring.